Hi everyone, welcome to another lecture for International Neuroscience Ambassadors team with you, Hans Adam. So today's lecture we're going to talk about the nervous system. So I know that we're going to get more deep. So we've got a lot of information, but don't worry, we are going to simplify every detail together. So let's start from the scratch. So let's start with the nervous system. So there are two types of the nervous system. So we have the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system and peripheral nervous system actually they have more divisions. So peripheral nervous system has two types, autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. But don't worry. So somatic nervous system deals with afferent neurons and efferent neurons. Autonomic nervous system deals with sympathetic and parasympathetic. So let's get more deep. So central nervous system is actually focuses on your brain and the spinal cord, but the peripheral nervous system deals with the other neurons except those comes from the brain and spinal cord. So all neurons except the brain spinal cord neurons are the peripheral nervous system. So peripheral nervous system consists of two parts, somatic and autonomic nervous system. So somatic, we can say it deals with out, but autonomic deals with in. What is meant by out and in? So somatic deals with voluntary movements and autonomic deals with involuntary movements. So we're going to explain them in the upcoming slides. But just remember this, somatic deals with out and autonomic deals with in. Somatic deals with also two types, sensory and motor. Sensory, which is we call afferent neurons, and motor deals with efferent neurons. Sensory, this is inputs. Sensory, inputs, and motor are outputs. So when I say a line or say something, this is an input. This image comes into my eye or comes through my eyes, go to my brain, and my brain makes some process on it, then it comes out. Okay, but autonomic, it's composed of two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic, it's we call fight or flight, or which it's consuming energy. But parasympathetic deals with relaxation. Okay, don't worry if you don't remember all of this information. We're going to get more deep. But the whole thing that I want you to remember is central nervous system right now deals with the brain and spinal cord. So central nervous system consists of the forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, and spinal cord. So please focus with me. So the forebrain consists of some parts. So let's start with the cerebrum. Cerebrum is the largest portion of your brain, and it's really responsible for the voluntary movements. What are the voluntary movements? What's the difference between the voluntary movements and involuntary movements? Voluntary movements are the movements that you can control, but involuntary movements that you can't control. Like what? Voluntary movements that like moving your hand up or your hand down. This you can decide if you want to move your hand or not. But involuntary movements deals with the movements that you can control, like your heartbeat. You can control when you can make your heartbeat start or when you can make your heartbeat stop. So this is the difference between them. So then we have the thalamus. Thalamus is responsible for the sensory information, and then we have the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is responsible for the involuntary movements and also for the regulation of the hormones that are secreted from the glands like pituitary gland or other glands related to the endocrine system. Then we have the amygdala. Amygdala is responsible for the emotions. And then we have the most part that I really admire, and which is the hippocampus. Do you remember that we said before that temporal lobe is responsible for the encoding memories? Because hippocampus is in the temporal lobe. So hippocampus is responsible for the memories, and mainly the long-term memories that are resistant to be forgotten. Then we have the midbrain. Midbrain, it's responsible for just transferring sensory information to the thalamus, and it's responsible for your mood. Like when you say that I'm in a bad mood, My brain is responsible for this. And then we have the hindbrain. It's consist of pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. So cerebellum is responsible for the motion, and cerebellum and pons and medulla oblongata work together for the basic process like respiration, entrance of glucose into your cells, digestion, all this. Then we have the spinal cord. Spinal cord is responsible for receiving and sending information from the planet, from your brain to the other organs. So we can say that it works like a ferry. So it sends information to the brain and receive the information from the brain, send them to the organs, receive from the organs, and all this. So we here covered the central nervous system, your brain, and the spinal cord. So let's go back to find out the peripheral nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system, we said that it consists of somatic and autonomic nervous system. So somatic and autonomic nervous system. As I said before, somatic deals with L and autonomic deals with M. Somatic deals with the voluntary movements that comes between your brain and the other organs like your arm, your leg, your chest, your neck. And autonomic deals with the internal organs in your brain. As I said, somatic you can just decide when you want to stand up, when you want to sit down, and autonomic you can control because you can control your heartbeat, you can control the digestion. They are movements that you can control. But we have the breathing. You can control breathing as somatic and autonomic because breathing can control when you want to breathe or not, but also you can't control it all the time. So we can say that breathing is somatic and autonomic at the same time. And now let's go back to find out what we left. So we said that peripheral nervous system consists of somatic and autonomic. So somatic deals with the sensory information and motor information. So sensory deals with the afferent neurons with the inputs, and motor deals with the efferent neurons with the outputs. But we have the autonomic, we have the sympathetic and parasympathetic. So let's go. So sympathetic, as I said, it deals with fight or flight, but parasympathetic deals with the relaxation. So sympathetic deals with consuming energy, like accelerating your heartbeats when you're just running, all this information, all these kind of process that makes you consume energy. But parasympathetic deals with the relaxation when you just slow your heartbeats, contract your muscles or bladders. All this process that makes you in a relaxation form deals with parasympathetic. So let's cover what we learned before. So we said that your nervous system consists of two parts: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So central nervous system deals with your brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system are the all neurons except the neurons in your brain and the spinal cord. So it's end up with central nervous system. Let's go to the peripheral nervous system. It deals with two types. We have the autonomic nervous system and somatic nervous system. Somatic deals with voluntary movements you can control, but autonomic deals with involuntary movements that you can't control, deals with the internal organs. But somatic nervous system consists of two parts: sensory and motor. Sensory afferent neurons, which is input, and motor are efferent neurons with output. But autonomic nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic deals with consuming energy, fight or flight, but parasympathetic deals with the relaxation. You are just in a relaxing mode. And here we finish up with our lecture today. Can we see you in more video? Wish you a lucky day with you and Adel. Bye.